In this video, we're going to explore creating a splash screen, and this is the preferred method for creating a splash screen because it uses the least amount of memory resources on our device. And so I've created this little image. Well, I didn't create the image of Cusco, and he's going to be my splash screen logo. And so I'm going to run this as we go because often the splash screen disappears fairly quickly, so I wanted you to see what we're up to here. So I'm hemming and hawing. Get it? Because Cusco probably haws. Never mind, not a very funny joke. And there he is. And back to our app. So in this video, we will create that splash screen. So let's go about creating our custom Cusco splash screen. First thing I'm going to do is draw your attention to the Android manifest file. That's located here in the manifest folder, Android manifest file. And this is our main template to the core of our application. And if we look at some of the things going on, we'll see that first of all, there's a theme that's set by default called @style app theme. And if I look at my styles, @style, which is a file in my resources, values, and styles.xml, let me see if I can drag it over here so we can see it better. Come on. Okay, so if we look at our styles page, there is in fact a theme that's created called app theme. And in app theme, there are some items that are already kind of presumed we know what they are. In other words, it says the color primary is @color, color primary, etc., etc. Well, that is also defined on a colors.xml file. So if I look at colors.xml file, I will try to bring that over here. So unsuccessfully, I did that. Colors. Well, it's always easier doing things off camera. There we go. So if we look at colors, then we can see that @color, color accent is defined here in our colors XML. So there's our color accent, and there's the value for that color. And you can see that there's a nice little grid here to give us a visual of what those colors represent. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to create our own theme that will launch instead of the default kind of whitish quick screen that comes up. We're going to create a new theme that will then tell our Android manifest file that that will be our starting point, and the starting point will show our splash screen, and then that after the splash screen, we'll have the Android manifest. Well, we'll do it from a class. We'll launch our activity main. That's a lot of words. Trying to give you an overall view of the steps, and we're just going to walk into it and do that next. All right, so our first step is to create a placeholder, a place to put our little Cusco fella and center him in the center. And we've done activities in the past, but what we're going to do instead this time is we're going to create a drawable XML file that represents our Cusco splash screen. In other words, if I look at perhaps IC Launcher background, XML is describing what this background is going to be. So we're going to utilize, or you can do the same thing with the foreground, and same thing, XML is defining what this little icon is going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new drawable. So on the drawable folder, I'm clicking on new, and I'm going to go to drawable resource file. And for the file name, I'm going to give it, you can give it whatever you want. I'm going to do background, splash. This is why I don't type on screen. Background splash screen. So I'm going to click on OK. And now I have a selector and I have a preview. Well, preview isn't showing anything yet because I haven't created anything. So instead of selector, we're going to use layer list. Let me see if I can close up some real estate here so we can see all of that. So I'm going to create a layer list. We'll keep this the same. Let me just copy and paste so you don't have to waste time watching me make mistakes. So I'm going to copy in the next section of this. So we're going to create an item, a drawable, and we've defined a background color, or a color of gray. So this is our background color. Well, notice it's red because we don't have one defined. So I need to go back to my colors, which I thought I still had open. So I'm going to open up that colors resource that we saw a moment ago in values, colors, and I'm going to define that color so that I don't have this ugly gray. In other words, I'm going to do color, and we'll give it, I need to put it in a color. We're going to give it a name of, I'm going to call mine gray, and I'm going to give it a value of CACDDD, which I happened to look up beforehand, which is kind of a nice light gray that mixes well with this the logo that we have. So if I hit save, now our little @color gray should go away as long as I spell it the same. EY and AY are not the same. All right, so now that I've spelled that correctly, I've defined a color on the colors XML page. So back to this. So we have a drawable. Our background item is going to be that gray color. We're going to create another item, and this item is that we're going to put in a bitmap, as it's called, and the bitmap is my Cusco PNG file. So I've already imported them in, so I have the @drawable and Cusco, and then Android Gravity is just a way for us to center that into the splash screen. And so we now have I spelled splash correctly. I'll have to remember that. So you spell splash correctly. I'll spell it without an S. It's a silent S, apparently. It's so silent it's invisible. Anyway, so now we've created the background splash screen, and we need to incorporate that into our theme. All right, so I'm going to open up the styles, which should be here. And again, just for simplicity, I'm going to copy and paste the code in that you need here. And so we're creating a splash screen. Apparently you have to spell splash screen correctly, so I did it intentionally to draw this to our attention. I'm just kidding. So this is the XML file that defined what our screen is going to look like, what our splash screen is going to look like. And so we have a style, name equals splash theme. So that's the name that we're giving this particular theme, just like up here it was app theme, down here it's splash theme. I'm going with the parent theme app compat light, which is what's the same as up here, except no action bar, so I don't have that action bar at the top of the splash screen. And then we have item name, and then the background is that splash theme that we just created. All right, so now that we've got this part all linked together, the next part is to define a class that is going to load this particular theme as its splash theme. I have a really hard way of explaining that, so let me just show you. All right, so watch the build, watch the run tasks. Hopefully our emulator will come up, and we shall see a quick Cusco, and then our hello world. There he is, and then our hello world. So apparently that all worked well. We've created a quick splash screen, and now our main activity is what's being displayed. So again, this is the preferred method because we didn't create an activity. It takes less memory, it takes less resources to create that, and we're tapping into that initial default splash screen, that blank white splash screen that comes up automatically. So that's one way to create a splash screen.